My name is Daniel Hayes. I'm 45 years old. I work in logistics. Nothing glamorous, but I've always been the type of man who shows up, pays the bills, and honors his word. I married young, worked hard, and thought loyalty was the glue that held everything together. For 17 years, I put my head down and built a life with my wife, Melissa. Or at least I thought we were building it together. Until one Tuesday morning at 9:00 a.m., I received a text message that shattered everything I thought I knew. It wasn't a fight. It wasn't a conversation. It was a sentence. "I'm done, Dan. I filed. Don't contact me." I remember staring at it, thinking it had to be a joke. A bad one. But it wasn't. Within the hour, I logged into our joint bank account, and every dollar, every cent of our savings, our emergency fund, even the house buffer, was gone. Transferred. Cleared out. Just like that. After 17 years of marriage, my wife ended it with one message and left me with nothing but silence and zero balance. No signs. No shouting matches. No late-night arguments. Looking back, that's what scared me the most. She had been planning it for months, maybe years, behind my back, while I was busy working double shifts and fixing leaky faucets. And the scariest part? She wasn't even hiding it anymore. Melissa didn't vanish. She just disappeared from the life we built, like it was never hers to begin with. Like I was the only one who thought it was real. At first I was numb. Then I was angry. But I didn't act on it. I didn't call. I didn't beg. I didn't rant on social media. I went quiet, not because I was weak, but because I knew something she didn't. I knew about the account. The one she forgot existed. The one in my name only. The one tied to a side business I never told her much about. And in that moment, I realized I didn't need to chase her. I needed to prepare. So, I went home, sat in the dark for a while, and I made a promise to myself, not to get revenge in fire and fury, but to rise in silence, to use the very thing she tried to destroy as the fuel for something she'd never see coming. Melissa thought she walked away with everything. She had no idea the best part of me was just getting started. In the days that followed, I didn't say a word to anyone, not even my closest friends. I kept going to work, showing up on time, holding conversations like nothing had happened. But behind my eyes, everything had shifted. Melissa's text wasn't just a betrayal. It was a declaration of war delivered with a smiley face at the end. And I refused to let my response be emotional. I would answer her silence with strategy, not noise. I kept thinking about all the things I missed, or maybe refused to see. The late nights she said she was working late. The new clothes, the phone always turned upside down at dinner. I had chalked it up to stress, to life, to change. I didn't want to believe my wife had already left our marriage long before that text was sent. But now the blinders were off, and I saw the pattern. She had been preparing for her exit while I was still fixing her car and setting up anniversary surprises. But here's the part she miscalculated. While she was draining the joint account, she forgot one crucial detail. I had started a small logistics side business 2 years prior, moving specialty items across state lines. Nothing flashy, just reliable income. And I'd kept it separate, entirely in my name. Not because I didn't trust her back then, but because I wanted one thing in my life that was truly mine, that account. It had nearly 6 figures sitting quietly, untouched. She thought I was ruined, that I'd panic, that I'd chase her. But I didn't. Instead, I hired a lawyer, a good one. Quiet, discreet. The kind that didn't send flashy letters, but sent precise, cutting ones that made people sit up straight. I handed over everything. The screenshots, the transfers, the text. My lawyer looked at me and said, "She thinks you're blind. Let's keep it that way for now." I nodded. We were going to let her feel safe until it was too late. At night, I would lie awake, not with grief, but with focus. I started rebuilding my schedule, cleaning out my house, not out of sadness but preparation. I erased her fingerprints from my life, one drawer at a time. People say revenge is about anger, but that's not true. It's about clarity. It's about watching someone try to bury you and then using the dirt they threw to build your foundation. And all the while, I said nothing. No text, no calls, no reaction. Melissa had disappeared like a thief in daylight, and I let her, because thieves don't expect to be followed in silence. They expect chaos. But I wasn't coming with fire. I was coming with facts, with patience, and with everything she never saw in me. The thing about people like Melissa is they count on chaos. They assume if they strike first and loud enough, the other person will crumble. That's why she moved fast. Cleared the accounts, filed the paperwork, sent the text. She wanted to shock me into silence, but what she didn't realize is I grew up learning how to survive storms by keeping still. I knew how to stand in a fire without making a sound, and now I was watching her walk straight into her own. About 3 weeks after the text, her attorney reached out with a proposed settlement. It was laughable. She wanted the house, half of my supposed business assets, and alimony. After draining our joint savings and leaving me without a word. I didn't respond. I forwarded the email to my lawyer, who simply said, "Let her think she's still winning, for now." So we waited. And while we waited, I gathered. What Melissa didn't know was that every transaction she made from our joint account, every transfer to her private accounts, every withdrawal was traceable, and since she made them after filing for divorce, but before any agreement, they were legally suspect. My lawyer was quietly building a case around dissipation of assets, which, if proven, could not only reverse those transfers, but make her liable for repayment. She thought she'd emptied me. She was actually digging her own legal grave. And there was more. That side business she never cared to ask about. I had contracts, tax records and growth projections that showed its value had doubled over the last year. Melissa listed it in her claim as a part-time gig, but it wasn't. It was my leverage. It was the income she didn't think I had, and the structure I had built without her hand in it. In divorce court, that distinction matters a lot. Then, the real crack appeared. A mutual friend sent me a screenshot from Melissa's social media. A new guy, flashy photos, smiling vacations, matching tattoos. The caption read, "New beginnings with my real soulmate." It was all the evidence we needed. Infidelity, paired with asset depletion. It wouldn't just destroy her position in court, it would destroy her credibility. Still, I said nothing. Not to her, not online. I didn't even flinch. I wasn't looking for drama. I was building a win, a clean one, a quiet one. The kind that doesn't need applause, just precision. Let her think I was licking my wounds. Let her keep underestimating me. Because the next time she'd hear my name, it would be in front of a judge. The court date came faster than I expected. Melissa walked in confidently, wearing designer heels and that smug smile she always wore when she thought she'd already won. She didn't look at me, not once. Her new boyfriend wasn't with her, but his presence was felt in every arrogant glance she gave my way. She thought this would be easy, quick, that I'd be passive, that I'd sign, take the scraps and disappear. Then my lawyer spoke, calm, controlled, surgical. He laid out the timeline of asset withdrawals, provided account records, and showed exactly how she drained nearly $82,000 in less than 48 hours after filing, but before settlement. He presented evidence of her infidelity, not to shame her, but to prove motive. And then he revealed my business, the full value, the contracts, the growth, All of it kept separate, not marital property, not hers to claim. Melissa's face cracked for the first time. Her confident posture began to fade, her lawyer whispering rapidly in her ear. She glanced at me like she'd seen a ghost, the version of me she never thought would fight back. But I didn't look angry. I looked free, because I wasn't here for revenge. I was here for justice. The judge asked a few sharp questions, and it didn't take long before it became clear the court saw through her. Not only was her claim for the house denied, but she was ordered to return half of what she took, and received no alimony. The court acknowledged my role as the primary contributor, both financially and in household stability. Her actions, the judge said, showed a premeditated breach of marital trust. Those words were a quiet verdict on more than just money. They named what she tried so hard to mask: betrayal. Afterward, she tried to speak to me in the hallway. I didn't stop walking. She called my name, softer than I'd ever heard it. Maybe she thought we could still salvage something, but there was nothing left. You don't get to burn someone's life down and ask for shade when yours starts to smoke. She chose her side. She picked her silence. I had simply responded in kind. The settlement was final within weeks. I kept the house, kept my business, recovered a large portion of the lost funds. Melissa, on the other hand, had her story and a new man who was starting to look more like a liability than a savior. Karma doesn't always knock loud. Sometimes it just waits in the courtroom. And I never raised my voice, never slandered her name. I just stood still long enough for her lies to collapse on their own. Life after the settlement didn't feel like a victory lap. It felt like breathing clean air for the first time in years. I came home to silence that wasn't cold. It was peaceful. My house was mine again, and not just on paper. No hidden motives, no lies lingering in the corners, just me, my work, and a quiet I had earned. I didn't rush to date. I didn't need to prove anything to anyone. I wasn't trying to fill a void. I was finally learning how to live without one. People started reaching out, friends, even her family members. Some were shocked, some apologized. A few tried to explain her actions as if betrayal had footnotes. I listened, nodded, but I didn't engage. I didn't need their closure. I already had mine. Closure isn't an apology. It's recognizing that the door slammed in your face led you to build a better one somewhere else. And that's what I did, brick by brick, day by day. Melissa didn't fade out completely, though. She still tried, from time to time. A message here, a forwarded memory. Once, a voicemail late at night, her voice slurred and broken, asking if we could talk. I never returned the calls, not out of hatred, out of choice, because I wasn't the man she tried to destroy anymore. That man was gone, and the one she left behind was far more dangerous, because he had nothing left to lose and everything left to build. I poured more time into my business, scaled it carefully. By the end of the year, I had expanded into 2 more states, hired a small team, built a brand she had no part in. My clients respected me, my team trusted me, and slowly I began to trust myself again. Not as someone holding together a failing marriage, but as a man rebuilding his life from the ashes of someone else's deception. One afternoon, I got word from a mutual friend that Melissa's new relationship had ended. Ugly. Financial problems. Emotional manipulation. Maybe even cheating. Poetic, in a way. I didn't celebrate. I didn't mock her downfall, because I was never trying to see her fall. I just needed her out of my way. What she did with her own destruction after that was her decision. And this is what I learned. Revenge doesn't always look like a comeback speech or a courtroom slam. Sometimes it's a man living better, stronger, and freer, while the person who tried to ruin him quietly watches from behind the wall they built to trap him. It's been over a year now since that morning text shattered the life I thought I was living, and I can say this without hesitation. It was the best thing that ever happened to me, not because I enjoyed the pain or the betrayal, but because it woke me up. It stripped away the illusions. It forced me to confront the truth. I had been investing my soul into a person who never saw me as a partner, only as a safety net, and the moment she thought I was no longer needed, she cut the cord. But I didn't fall. I learned to fly. I still keep that text, not out of bitterness, but as a reminder of what it felt like to be discarded. Yes, but more importantly of how far I've come since that moment. I'm no longer the man who explains his worth. I live it. I protect my peace with the same loyalty I used to give everyone else. I don't argue with betrayal anymore. I recognize it, and I walk away without a sound. I've learned to enjoy my own company again. I take long walks without waiting for anyone. I cook dinner and sit with the quiet, not because I have to, but because it feels like home. And when I look in the mirror, I no longer see the man who got left behind. I see the man who survived it all and built something stronger from the wreckage. Melissa? She faded into her own consequences. I don't know where she lives now, and I don't need to. What we had was buried the day she chose deceit over conversation. And I didn't bury it in anger. I buried it in wisdom, because I finally understood that not everyone who starts the journey with you is meant to stay for the destination. Some people are just there to teach you what not to accept again. So if you're listening to this, and you've been blindsided, betrayed, discarded like you never mattered, remember this: don't chase them, don't explain, don't collapse, just rise. In silence, in strength, in strategy. Let your life become the answer they never expect, because the sweetest revenge isn't rage, it's freedom. And mine is permanent.